Kirsten Tannen, your Senior Vice President of Accounts at Direct Results. Welcome to AV123. It's delightful to have you here. As an opener, let me ask you this. On Direct Results' website, is the claim that Direct Results is the authority in audio advertising and that you've been leading the way in all things audio for over 17 years?
Yes.
The question is, how have you been able to achieve that?
It's a great question. Yes, to answer initially, we are the authority in audio advertising. We like to believe that very truly, passionately. We do that because we have a variety of talented people that we work with that keep us on the cutting edge of what technology is out there. We know audio messaging. It comes from experience, but also being in the know, attending events, having resources at our fingertips to keep us on the cutting edge.
Audio has surged in popularity again over the past 20 years. That has largely been as a result of podcasts, they say, also I've been told. And interestingly, the way that audio has developed, have you seen, having been a part of it for essentially the past 20 years, that it's changed a lot? Has audio advertising changed? How?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I would say audio advertising has been in this constant evolution, and there is no stopping that trajectory at this moment from a variety of different things, from, podcasting itself, right? You now have that massive growth, and there's niche podcasts. You have the ability for long form storytelling, where you can really have a narrative that is hitting on emotional lines with people, and this relationship where people are very loyal to those listeners. It's bringing them out of their current worlds into another one. There's AI technology where messaging is being created and then also optimizing that. There's new technology in terms of where you can get your audio from. Think of Google in your home. It's interactive at this point and it can talk back to you. Like, this wasn't possible a few years ago. So yeah, I would say there's a huge evolution in growth in recent years, and it's continuing to do so.
How do you guys, let me rephrase that, how do you girls actually approach the concept of advertising when audio advertising and audio itself has become so fluid?
How do we approach it?
Yes.
Cautiously. I would say, there's a lot of pieces out there. There's so much being thrown at you in so many directions in this evolution of audio, but staying true to the basics is key, and just not trusting everything fully. Like, see the trends take place, you can watch it, but go cautiously.
When you say basics, what are you referring to?
The basics I'm referring to is, when you're doing audio creative and messaging, stick to the truth behind your brand, right? Your key copy points. What has worked. It's worked for a million years in how people have, done their audio creative, but it's sticking to the true brand and the copy points, clear call to action, and not necessarily just going full force into the trends that are out there. You still have to have that human touch to it, I would say, and that, hate to words to use common sense, but like something in that where you have that experience and understanding of how this operates. Don't fully trust something so new. There's always kinks to be worked out.
What would you say, having said that, what would you say makes an audio message? Because let's refer to messaging, because advertising is messaging after all. So what makes the audio messages you make? And how do you ensure that the audio messages you make are compelling and engaging?
Authenticity and being genuine. As a brand, you have to stick tried and true to that. A brand knows their consumer better than I'll ever know their consumer. We live and breathe that, where creative wise, a host or a show know their audience and what they're going to respond to. So finding a happy medium between those two, where you're sticking genuine to the brand and being truly authentic, but the host isn't also losing their authenticity in what makes them who they are and why people are listening. If you have that mixed with a clear call to action, you're good.
This just brings me to the question of, in terms of Direct Results approach, how do you define authenticity?
Sticking to what makes you who you are as a brand. Okay. So really, what are your core values and what are your selling propositions that you identify with?
Because I tell you why I ask that is because a lot of people have said to me that video, for a lot of the audience members out there, has become almost fickle. and audio has become more authentic. Why is that?
I think in audio, you have this ability to just be very true to yourself, where video, it's got this whole visual aspect. And that is a way that podcast is kind of going, right? There's these
Yeah.
now 360 campaigns and the visual component to it. But people are staying tried and true because that is where they started in the audio space for the podcasts. And I think it gives them ability to be honest with themselves and their listeners of who they are.
Yes. All right. Well, let's say I'm a client. I come to you. I have a product, and I say to you, "This is what I want done." How do you approach the creative process of developing messages that would then resonate with my audience?
I would say, what are the target audience that you're going
Yes.
for? What are their pain points? And how are we
Okay.
going to be their solution? In addition to that, what are your 5 to 6, maybe 7 key selling propositions that differentiate you from the competition? And then creating a cohesive core message around those pieces of what you're trying to do. So whether it's brand awareness, driving sales to a website and or site traffic, whatever it may be, but identifying what your core goal is, your core messaging is, and then tying that in.
If I was uncertain and I come to you because you are the authority, what would you say to me in terms of the elements that I need to be able to produce for you to be able to give that? Because there is a great deal of emotionality involved in audio, which is one thing that video does not necessarily have. Audio does have because of its intimacy. But composing a message is not that simple. What are the elements that you would propose I consider as a client?
I would say elements to consider. I mean, what can make you stand out in a space, right?
Yeah,
So again, that genuine authenticity,
yeah,
that is something that cannot be made up. In elements that make you even stand out further, there's a sonic logo. So sonic logos are big. What is this? Maybe like a sizzle if we're doing something in the grilling space, something that can make you stand out to make you memorable, but really pulling on those emotional pieces and solving those pain points for listeners is how you are going to see action.
How long is the ideal message?
I mean, in terms of what? In ideal message of seeing a response?
Let me tell you why I ask that. Let me contextualize it
Mhm.
for you. The reason is because even though it was originally named as such in the sort of early 1970s, the attention economy
Mhm.
has become more and more of a thing because there are so many media elements that are competing for it now. So, in other words, as far as a prospect goes, you only have so much time to be able to grab their attention. How do you do that?
Yeah.
What is the key?
What's the key? Keeping it
Yeah.
simple. Keeping it
Okay.
simple. I would say keeping it simple. Like I said, sticking to your core values as a brand and as a host, but being honest. I think that is so pivotal. And in terms of length, I mean, depends on what you're promoting, but I would say 30 seconds to 60 seconds. It's great that you can do a 2 minute ad, and people
Yeah.
would love that. Everyone's going to love it. But if you're rambling and you're not getting to what the call to action is, in 2 minutes, you're going to lose somebody's attention. It dilutes what you're trying to do.
Do 10-second ads work?
As a reminder piece, I wouldn't put, my money in all that bucket. I wouldn't do
Yeah.
that now.
Why do so many people try?
To put them in 10 seconds?
Yes. Is it
Good
a
question.
cost thing? Is it just a cost thing, do you think?
No, I wouldn't say it's a cost thing. I wouldn't say that I haven't seen personally where people are just solely doing 10-second ads. Maybe let's say a brand like McDonald's might be able to do it because they have that recognition
Yeah.
and they've built that long-term, that long-term brand awareness with consumers. But just doing a solely 10-second ad, it's not something that's going to necessarily move the needle. In 10 seconds, what can you get across?
Yes.
Right? So if you're trying to have an action from a consumer, 10 seconds is not going to be enough time.
Do you think it would be fair to say that sonic branding has become more and more important in audio advertising?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
I think it's just another way for a busy consumer to be able to go, oh, I know that jingle. Like, I know
Okay.
what that is. It's the familiarity.
Yes. Because that is the one thing, because audio is sort of processed in the same area of the brain that emotions are processed. I suppose that is almost inevitable. One needs that kind of thing to be able to trigger your audience because it has to do with the psychology of sale, because you've got to make people feel what you're telling them. Because if you
Well,
don't,
yeah,
they're not going to buy it.
audio's theater of the mind, right? It's the
Yes,
storytelling. So all of those elements coming together, when they hear it, it triggers that memory
yeah.
and that triggers that brand recognition. They go, oh, that's what I was thinking about. Maybe that's what I needed today. So I think it's important.
What are, having come to this point, what are the common mistakes that you found in your experience over the past 17 odd years that marketers make with audio messaging? And what should they do going forward not to make them?
Yeah, I mean, overcomplicating the messaging. I think that's kind
Okay.
of like a common thing of what we're talking about, right? It's
Yes.
sticking to the basics, sticking to tried and true because it will dilute your message. People get overwhelmed and they'll just not remember.
Yes.
It's a lot for them. Avoiding that, keep it simple. I would say also misaligning audience and formats. So if I'm targeting moms that have small kids in the home, I'm not going to run a rock and roll ad with a heavy dad voice. It doesn't
Yes.
match. It won't
Yeah.
resonate. And then an inadequate call to action is, I think, another common
Yeah.
mistake where you have brands that have so many different offers on their website or they're being hit with mailers or on their retargeting, whatever it is. But the one for audio may not be strong. It's keep it simple, have an adequate, strong call to action that makes a consumer want to move on that, and keeping it a simple process is
When you
really
say call
important.
to action, what are you saying? Because if there's one thing that irritates me, it's people, or in a radio ad, that give
Mhm.
you a telephone number at 450,000 miles an hour, which you will never
Oh, yeah.
remember.
Yeah. So call to action, what I'm saying for the CTA is what is the action that consumers will be taking? Maybe it's a
Yeah.
phone number. However, a promo code, I feel like kind of phone numbers, they still exist, but it's not a very common thing anymore. Simple URLs, keep it very
Yes.
simple. A person has a short memory, make it an easy thing to remember. And a strong offer. If I hear, wow, I'm going to get 50% off this favorite brand today if I type jeans in, that's simple enough for me. But
Yes.
you're going to give me 20 numbers. I'm not going to remember it.
Yeah. Is it what are the things that you tell clients they shouldn't do? Is that do you have a list of do not do this?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I kind of, and I think for all of us at direct results, we hear them first. We want to hear what
Uh,
they have to say,
yeah.
what their experience is, and understand like what success looks like to them. And from there, we're going to work with them and understand, have you done an audio campaign before? You did? Great. How did that perform? Didn't perform? What did you guys do? And then learning from that, all right, well, maybe they understand now that this shouldn't be a process in the piece of this pie. And then we're going to move here. And
Yes.
you really it's circumstantial on like who you're working with.
What role would you say, because we're all suckers for it? I mean, we love stories and we love storytelling. So tell me this: what role would you say does storytelling play in creating impact audio messaging?
Oh wow. I mean, audio is storytelling. It is theater of the mind. It is so important. I mean, I think they go hand in hand. If you don't have the storytelling, we're all storytellers, all of us in this space. And if you don't have a story behind it and it's just XYZ, it's not gonna have that pull on a listener. It's just gonna go in one ear and out the other, in my opinion.
Because I'm a voice actor, I have to ask you this question. How do you determine what voice to use for an ad?
Understanding the brand and
Mm,
what they're conveying and their message. What is the campaign goal? That is really key. Who the target audience is key. It's building the trust and conveying the message in a way that those listeners will resonate. All of those things play a part in making a decision on who the voice actor is going to be. I used the example before of,
mm.
the moms and rock and roll, that those are all important factors, right? So are they looking for a warm voice? What are they trying to get across in this campaign? Those are all important.
If there's one thing that there has been an enormous amount of lately, and it's certainly very much a topic of conversation amongst voice actors, is AI voices. Do you use them?
No, no, we
Why
have not
not?
used AI
Why
voices.
not? Because I tell you why. I tell you why, and it is a loaded question, that there are many agencies who do.
We don't use them because we truly believe there is an authenticity and a genuine difference in a human voice and an AI voice. From where it started with AI voices, it has vastly changed.
Yes.
It can fool you. It can. And I just think that there's something to be said for a human being conveying that message. By saying we might not use it down the road, I can't say that. I don't know. But right now, tried and true, sticking to human. Again, AI, take it with a grain of salt. It
Yes.
is something that I think is a big trend right now, and it's going to be in the industry and not going anywhere. But that is something that we have not at Direct Results personally used for our creatives.
How do you measure the effectiveness of audio messaging in a campaign?
A variety of different ways. Obviously, campaign goals. Is it
Yes.
driving sales? If you're seeing the ROI and people are engaging with the product and what you're promoting, that's obviously one measurement. There's pixel tracking now. There is the ability to see tag tracks on audio creative. We can A/B test creative and say, creative A is killing it with these audiences, where creative B is doing much better with these audience, and optimizations that way. That's constantly evolving with terms of technology that are coming out.
That's actually quite extraordinary. In other words, you're able to measure just about every aspect of an audio
Pretty
campaign.
much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting to that point, which is really wild. It's really interesting.
What are the sort of currently, what are the sort of innovative techniques and the trends in audio messaging that excite you as
Mhm.
someone involved in the creation of audio messaging?
I would say, to what we were just talking about in
Yeah.
terms of the technology and all the different ways you can track things, there are now keyword and contextual targeting abilities in audio.
Okay.
So let's say you have a brand that really wants to focus on people that are interested in umbrellas. There's
Mm.
technology now that can go back and go through, shows that have previously aired of hosts that we may be interested in that have referenced umbrellas.
Yeah.
And it can give me an idea of, all right, this could be a really good opportunity. So keyword targeting, and you can also use that for anti-targeting. So there's controversial shows and you want to make sure you're not in those, you can keyword target. If they show said X, we know not to be in it. So I think that's something that is really interesting. And then contextual targeting. I'll stick with my umbrella analogy.
Yeah.
You can do ads for the umbrella brand because it's raining in certain areas. An umbrella ad will be served. Or if it's nice out, the grilling ad will be served. So
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity out there in terms of abilities to target and podcast and streaming and audio in general. Those things get me excited because I'm like, this is just incredible from where it
Yes.
was, a year ago. It's really cool.
Is there a campaign that you've been involved in recently that has truly made you smile? That you felt, I am so proud I was associated with this campaign?
Oh yeah. I mean, there are some that are just really, really rewarding because we work with big brands and
Yes.
we also work with small brands. That's the beauty of direct results, right? We work with partners. We don't work with just brands. It's partners to us.
Yes.
So as much as the mega company is getting our attention, the smaller company is going to get our full attention. And those ones, when they take off and do well, those like just make my heart skip beats. They're so thrilled. And then they want to
Yes.
keep going and grow and they get excited about it.
Is
Those are
there
my
a
favorite.
particular example that you can just give us? That was something that you've been personally involved in that has really been extraordinary?
Yeah, I would say we work with several education clients and
Okay.
they don't have so at times, the biggest budget or they're really niche in like what they're looking to do. But working with them and getting them excited, getting the creative where it needs to be, and if it's enrollment, whether a program's going to go forward or not, because they really need these people to enroll in this school, when those take off, those are super rewarding. And I mean, we're right now at the beginning of school. So we had an incredible spring with these brands, helping them promote their schools and universities. And it took off. It did so well that now they're
Yes.
like continuing and we're going for winter enrollment and
Yes.
spring. And it's like, here we go. You guys understand now the power of audio and that this is where your consumers are.
Do clients always get it? If a client comes to you for a marketing campaign, do they always get the importance of audio? And if not, how do you sell it to them?
So not always, but my job, as a partner is to prove out that this is going to work and you're going to work with me. We're going to see success, but trust me in what we're doing. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you're going to want to see results right away. That can happen. That might not be at the level that you want it to be right away. But again, marathon, not a sprint. It will come. Trust the process.
A lot of bean counters are very insistent on almost immediate ROI, which audio advertising very rarely gives you. How
Mhm.
do you sell that to a client?
So depending on the product, it can happen right away. But with audio advertising, there's going to be that buildup. You have to build the trust. You have to build that memorability with listeners and the brand and the familiarity, and it will all come into play and you will see the results. So you may not see it initially, but give it some time. Be
Okay.
patient. It will come.
Kirsten, as a final question, let me ask you this.
Yes.
What advice would you give to brands looking to leverage the power of audio in their marketing campaign?
Again, coming back to the root of it, be authentic, be genuine, stick to the root of who you are, and action will follow. Don't force a host to do a message that doesn't resonate with them. It won't work. Be tried and true to what you believe as a brand. It will work. And then also, like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Be patient. It will get there. So take time, work with the company that's partnering with you to get these campaigns off the ground. It will happen.
When I said last question, I lied, because here's the last question. Do live reads work, or are packaged ads better?
Live reads all the way. I think you have live reads that are tried and true professionals that know their listeners and their audience. Those work. If they can like spitball it, and freestyle, they're creative. It's good if there's points for them to follow. I wouldn't say give them a whole script because you lose that personalization, but give them a few copy points, some things to stick to. Live reads will do fantastic, especially in radio. Branded spots, when they're going to record, again, I say no script. Give them a few copy points, let them spitball it, let them do the freestyle. And then you have the ability, though, with those to edit a little bit. You're going to have a great spot. So, live reads, number one. Branding spots, there's potential, but making sure that you're not going so full scripted, it's not going to resonate.
Kirsten Tannen of Direct Results, thank you so much for joining us. It's been enlightening speaking to you. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here and I hope we get to chat again.